Hello, everybody. I'm Stephany Ashley. My pronouns are she and her. I'm a senior consultant with the Human Solidarity Project, and I'm really excited to have the chance to sit with three of my favorite people to interview them about the Human Solidarity Project, one of my favorite projects in the world. So, Dustin, Madi, and Martin are a big part of the leadership and the founding of the Human Solidarity Project. And today we're just going to be talking about, what led you guys personally to this work, what led you collectively to this work, and why this work matters today more than ever. So grateful to be in conversation with you. And let's start off with some introductions. Let's have Madi. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody out there in radio land, like they used to say when I was growing up. They say radio land. That's how old I am, right? So I want to say hello. My name is Berwick Mighty Davenport. I'm the co-founder and also co-director of the Human Solidarity Project. And it's been a wonderful experience working with Martin and Dustin and you, Stephanie. And I look forward to having this conversation to really fill people in about why we think this is so important and where this is taking us.
Thanks, Madi. How about you, Martin?
Awesome. And I'm Martin Friedman. And hello, everybody, as well. I'm Martin Friedman, and I'm currently the Director of Strategic Initiatives and a senior consultant, also a co founder of the Human Solidarity Project. And I'm really excited to be with this particular group of people. I have love for all three of you, so much love for you all, and the positive influences you all have had on my life and the positive influences we've had together in this world. So I'm super excited to have this conversation with you all.
Hey everybody, this is this is Dustin, co-founder, co-director, senior consultant, jack of all trades, martial artist, basketball coach, lover of life, lover of people. I'm pumped to be here with my fam.
Awesome. Thanks, you guys. So, how about in the same order, just a couple minutes, tell me a little bit about what brought you personally to this work.
Oh, wow. For me, what brought me to this work was the idea that what we were doing for social justice and anti-racism, it wasn't quite doing it for me. It wasn't connecting me with the people I wanted to be connected with. I felt more disconnected from people than I felt connected. And at the same time, I felt righteous. I felt righteous about the disconnection, for a while. And that ambiguity or that conflict inside myself kept me asking questions that were not being answered by myself or the people around me. And reality was, I noticed that we didn't have a vision. Like nobody we talked to had a vision for how the world would look without racism. And I thought that was problematic. And I thought we needed to have a vision, or at least begin to start thinking about what the world would look like without it. But it was like we were afraid to do that. It's like we were afraid to imagine the world without racism. Like we had become so dependent, so codependent on racism as a way to see our value, as a way to have a platform that we really didn't really want to solve the problem. And that it brought me to this conclusion that if racism separates, then we need to be bringing people back together again.
Yeah. So what brought me to this work, I'm on a parallel path with both my D and Dustin. The first thing that came to my mind when you asked that question was my entire life, I've had an extremely strong desire to connect with other human beings. And it's been very challenging for me. And when I first learned about racism, I was like, wow, this is an amazing way to connect with other people. It's giving me purpose to my life, and I can immediately did everything I could to be a trainer. And I was very good at it. I got a lot of props for it, and I was miserable, and I didn't feel connected to people. The connections that I had were very toxic. And then what I realized when I really started to talk to Dustin and my D about what was, what was not working for us, what I realized is I was actually very disconnected from myself as well. And so what I've seen is this pathway that's led us to the Human Solidarity Project has been a pathway of reconnection to myself, reconnection to other people in the most authentic way possible. And I'm just doing better in life, and it's been, it was no magical switch that turned on. It's been a challenge, and I feel much happier and much better at just being alive than I ever have in my life.
Thank you, Martin.
Yeah, so I would say for me, the spark was, I had been organizing, involved with political activism since I was 15. And it was kind of the family I grew up in. Both of my parents were in college in the late 60s, involved with Black student unions, sit-ins, and all that stuff. My great grandfather was a head of the NAACP in Texas. He organized the bookmobile to come to the Black community because my mom loved to read. And he was involved with a lot of other, activism, organizing through the church and NAACP. And my uncle was charged with, during the Vietnam War, charged with attempted to overthrow the U.S. government. All the women in my family are MSWs, social workers. So politics, what was going on in the world was a big thing for me growing up. And simultaneously, I was going through a lot of pain growing up as well, a lot of trauma in my life. And when I got to organizing, when I saw I went through a People's Institute workshop for the first time, and I was doing some other stuff, but it really created a worldview for me that made so much sense around racism. And it gave me, looking back now, it gave me a focus to put all that inner pain and energy I had to externalize that onto the world. And, you know, it was rewarding for me in the sense that I felt this huge hole inside of myself. I was getting all this props and all this attention from every awards, all kinds of things, and it was making me feel really, really important. Became my identity, and simultaneously, my life was in shambles. I was financially impulsive, a mess. I was an alcoholic, drinking myself, smoking weed till I went to bed every night, not one night, 2 nights a week, every night. I was, womanizing, gambling in a very, very sick, unhealthy way, losing thousands of dollars at the casino that I couldn't afford to lose. And, Martin, and I know my D, I know went through all types of therapy, you know, uh, during that time. And I grew some, but I didn't face the kind of elephant in the room, which was my alcoholism, which was really a blocker from really what was going on inside of me at a deeper level. And then I started spiritual coaching with my D, life coaching, spiritual coaching, and that process exposed me. My soul was crying for something that my D had. And I was just so attached to him in the process. As I went through the process, I was like, everybody else has got to do this. We got to form something. This answers what I see in the anti-racist movement, the way we treat each other so awfully sometimes, the pain, the hurt amongst beautiful people, let alone the fact that we weren't really making any changes. As I was coaching with my D, I still hadn't dealt with the elephant in the which was my alcoholism, my disease of addiction. And my life collapsed. I got fired from my job. A lot of people that were in my life left me. Um, I had pancreatitis, and that's what drove me to getting sober. And it'll be from that point, um, we already have the spark of the idea to form an organization to incorporate everything we had learned from our organizing work, as well as all the spiritual coaching and teaching that Mahdi was bringing around understanding the ego, our authentic self. There's so much that was just like light bulbs, light bulbs, light bulbs, light bulbs, right? But I would say, at least from my perspective, for me, my journey really took off in terms of us creating, the foundation that leads us to where we are today is when I first got sober, combined with all the work I had done with Mahdi.